Hello everyone, welcome back to CSC 151. This here is your follow-along, not your follow-along assignment, this is your do-it-yourself assignment. So, basically, what I have here is, put your name, put your date, the date, so on and so forth. And what I have here is I have, in this column, basically an overview of the 7-week workload minus week 7 because it's the final. And what I have here is I just have scores. You'll notice that all these scores are actually, just handmade in. This right here, this column, calculates the percentage of the scores. And this grade right here will give you a letter grade based on the percentage of your score. So basically you have one type of equation to make, and then that equation will just go down from top to bottom. You have a second equation to make, and that equation can be the same thing from top to bottom. So as long as you set it up once correctly up top, you can just copy and paste it down. You set this one up top correctly, you can just copy and paste it down. So you really only have to worry about two equations. These guys are just scores that you type in. And then over on this right-hand side, we have some other scores here. We have total missing assignments. The total missing assignments will literally count anything that's a 0. So if I make this guy a 0, now that guy says there's 3 missing assignments. Now, and you'll also notice, like if I just change this 50 to 40, you'll see that my 40 now becomes an 80%, and it went from an A to a B minus. I switch it back to a 50. It goes from an 100% to an A. Remember, each and every assignment here is out of 50 points. So a 50 out of 50 is 100%, or an A. A 40% is an 80, which would be a B minus. Obviously, a 0 would be an F, so on and so forth. So, you'll also notice that whenever there's a 0, the color changes. So, each and every one of these 3 rows also has a conditional formatting on it that only occurs if the number is, 0% or 0 or an F. So long as, so each one of these columns has a conditional format on it. Everything else, so you've got one conditional format to worry about, one calculation of percentage, one calculation of grade. You have just counting anything that's a 0 in the missing assignments, and then the rest is just simply figuring out your averages. So you have an average of your follow-alongs. Well, there's one follow-along right there, the second follow-along right there, third follow-along, fourth, fifth, and 6th. You have 6 follow-alongs, and there's the average of their scores. And then also you have the average of their percentage, and you have their average grade among them. Same with, the individual assignments, which I named the do-yourselves. So you have a couple do-it-yourselves. You have the create your own flowchart, the create your own calendar, the create progress report, which is this assignment right here, the create your own blog site, the flashcard program, and the number guessing game. And that'll go and pop up right there, and you'll have the individual percent, and you'll also have the individual grade. You may notice, oh look, percentage, grade, these are essentially the exact same equations you would have in, D and E, except it's based on this number instead of being based on C. It's just repetition. It's the same number, it's the same equation over and over again, but just in a different spot, basically. And the same thing with the quizzes. You have, quiz 6, quiz 5, quiz 4, quiz 3, quiz 2, and quiz 1. So, and then of course, it'll just average everything together, give you the overall percentage and your overall letter grade. So basically, my thought process is that by completing this, even if, you don't have all of these things in yet, and thus essentially they're zeros, even though none of these are existing, you can still, figure out, depending on your grade, maybe you had a 32 on that, and you had a, a 47 on that. You can still figure out what your current grades are, what your current things could be, and currently what your score is overall. So, if you were to just say, I don't know, get 0.5% on everything else, up to this point, you'd get a C-, based on just your current grades right now, and assuming you had 0.5% down there. As you'll notice, it still gives me a red whenever there's an F. So yeah, that's basically what you're doing. You're going to do conditional formatting to make sure that whenever something is a 0 or an F, it turns red. You're going to make sure that your percentages wind up matching up with the score out of 50, and you're going to make sure your grade matches your percentage. So, a 90 is an A-, 100 is an A, 64 is a D, 86 is a B, so on and so forth. I guarantee you have equations that you can use to do this simply in the previous lecture videos. And then, the other stuff over here, any missing assignments. So anything that's a 0 over here will be counted towards missing assignments. And then these bits right here are just simply figuring out the average and of your individual categories, such as the follow-alongs, the quizzes, and the do-it-yourselves. So, and of course, in theory, if you know how to find a percentage here and find a letter grade here, you're just finding a percentage and finding a letter grade of this average instead. Or you're finding a percentage grade and a letter of this average. Or you're finding a percentage grade or the grade of this average. Or you're finding the percentage and the grade of the overall. So that's basically it. It's basically just 1, 2, 3, 4 different equations repeated over and over again. So once you get it right the first time, you can just copy and paste it and move on. Because there's 1 equation, 2 equation, 3 equation, and the conditional formatting is the 4th equation. The rest of it is just minor little altercations, minor little tweaks on those 4 equations. And you could use something like this to, help out and figure out what your grade could potentially be. Now, obviously, I'm not counting attendance in this, and I'm not counting the final, because the final is not out of 50 points. But, generally speaking, this is an accurate representation of your grade that you could use in this class. So, once you've done this, remember to go and save it as an Excel file. I want the Excel file so I can look at your equations, because that's what I'm going to be grading you on. This is the equations week. And you're going to go and you're going to make, so save it as an Excel file and send that through Canvas. If you're using Google Sheets, download it as an Excel file and send that through Canvas. If you're using numbers on a Mac, then send the .numbers file and I'll grade that. I need to be able to see the equations. You'll notice I purposely have been clicking and dragging from outside so you don't see the equations, because once again, this is the do-it-yourself. It's your work. Every single thing that you could use in this column, or anything right over here, any of those equations, I guarantee you they're all in the lecture videos and in the follow along. Every single thing you can use is in one of those lecture videos. So, you've got an entire week to do this. Go ahead, take a look at it, and save, submit, and I'll see you in next week, where we'll be done with Excel and we'll be going into HTML coding instead. So, thank you very much. I'll see you there. You have a great day.